So in the last videos, we had a quick understanding of the 4 Vedas, what Veda means and so on. I mentioned that each Veda can also be classified further. So in this video, we will see what these classifications are. Let's start with how each Veda is classified and then understand each component of it as we go along. So as you see here, each Veda can be classified into, basically at the first level it can be classified into 2 mantras, also called Samhita, and the Brahmana. This Brahmana, and then the Brahmana itself, if you look at it very closely, you will indeed find they can be of 3 parts. The Brahmana part is there, but it also has what is called Aranyaka and Upanishad. So these are so in some sense this is the first part, which is the mantra, then you have the Brahmana, you have the Aranyaka, and then you have the Upanishad. So we will see each one of them. Samhita, for example, constitutes the main portion of each Veda, and it consists of a certain number of mantras and presented in a metrical form. Then you have Brahmanas, and Brahmana does not anyway relate to the modern word of a Brahmin or a Brahmana. It's not that. This is a very technical word here. It forms a large portion of the Vedic repository. I think 60 to 70% of the Vedic repository may be actually the Brahmana portion. And of course you have the Aranyaka, which takes a certain philosophical approach while discussing a yajna. And then you have Upanishad, which is the loftiest thoughts of the Vedic seers. That's how one can understand what a Upanishad is. Now let us see the organization of the Rigveda Samhita alone. We will see how it is organized. Rigveda Samhita is made of mandalas. This is how one can look at the hierarchy here. Rigveda is made of 10 mandalas, and then you have 10 mandalas in Rigveda. Then you have for each mandala has certain number of anuvakas. So you end up having actually 85 anuvakas, and in each anuvaka there may be some sukta. So you can think of it as like a 3-dimensional kind of representation, 3-level representation. So 10 mandalas, which consists in all 85 anuvakas, and in these 85 anuvakas you have 1028 suktas. So a sukta is a collection of mantras put into one section. You can think like that. This is one way. Another way to understand this is one can look at it like this. Rigveda has 10,552 mantras at the lowest level. That is how you can count. And there are 400 rishis who have actually sung these or did these mantras, and there are 14 categories of devatas who are being invoked in order to these mantras are actually organized in praise of these devatas. That's how we can take it. This is another way to understand Rigveda Samhita. And each mantra in a Rigveda is called Rik. I already told you in one of the earlier videos. And it follows a particular meter. There is a specific meter with which these mantras are being uttered. So there is a meter. It is revealed to a certain rishi. As I told you, 400 rishis are there. So it is revealed to a particular rishi. And it is very important to note that there are 25 women rishis are also there. So they have also found these mantras. And the convention in Rigveda is each rishi is identified by 2 names. You will have 2 names which identifies a rishi. So this is about the rishi part of it. In terms of devata, there are 14 broad categories of devatas, but the most important of them are Agni. Indra is the largest number of mantras are for Indra, I think. Agni, Indra, Marut, Soma, Usha, Varuna, like that. So these are the different. So this is how Rigveda Samhita is organized. While a mantra may be for Indra and Agni, but it may discuss in that part some ideas of nature. All that can actually happen. That is what it is. So we saw Samhita, Rigveda Samhita we saw in terms of how they are organized and so on. Let's now talk about Brahmanas. Basically, it is a collection of knowledge mainly confined to the issue of rituals and rites, which are all written in prose. As I told you, the Vedic living is doing a lot of yajna and all that. So you need detailed material, how to go about doing, right? Whatever we do, we need an SOP, standard operating procedure. So something like that. And therefore, Brahmanas contain technical material pertaining to the rituals. Several portions of the Brahmanas literature may not appeal to a general reader because it is very technical. If you buy a TV, you don't, the instruction manual of how do you plug it, how do you troubleshoot and all, generally most of us are not interested. It's like that actually. So they describe different types of yajnas with all the details, ritualistic details which are required. For example, in Aitreya Brahmana, it actually describes the Soma sacrifice, the Soma Yajna, Agnihotra, all those are described. Similarly, in Kaushitiki Brahmana, it provides details on food sacrifices, full moon sacrifice, sacrifice of the seasons. So all these details are part of Brahmanas. Also, the Brahmanas prescribe the mantras from the Samhita that need to be recited for the rituals, because when you say some action has to be done, all details have to be there. So it will also say at this point in time you have to recite this mantra from Rig Veda, things like that. Brahmana also provides detailed instructions for preparing the altar for the yajna. How do you prepare that sacrificial altar? There are procedures on that also. I'll give you an example. Here is a mantra from Taittiriya Brahmana. So it says like this: a pit shall be dug up to the height of the Yajamana's knee. It shall be filled with water up to the height of his ankle. After covering it with lotus flowers and leaves and lotus sticks and so on, the Agni has to be brought in for the beginning the yajna. So it is just an example. What I am saying is such detailed instructions are part of Brahmanas. Samaveda has the largest collection of Brahmanas. There are 8 Brahmanas in Samaveda. The Tandiya Mahabrahmana, also known as the Panchavimsa Brahmana, contains 25 chapters. It has details on the conduct of Somayaga. These are all available in this Brahmana. And another Brahmana known as Shadvimsa Brahmana contains 26 chapters. Shadvimsa means 26 actually. Panchavimsa, which I said earlier, is 25 in Sanskrit. That's how those Brahmana names are coming. So this Brahmana deals with several topics, including the origin of Agni, provisions for shantis for various ills such as misfortunes like untimely death of people, diseases, bad dreams, diseases affecting elephants and other animals, splitting of earth, earthquake, fire in earth, earth expelling water and inundation of earth in running water. So there are so many things we keep facing. So there are mantras to deal with all these are available in this particular Brahmana that you see. This is about the Brahmana. Let's move on to Aranyakas. And if you look at the content of the Aranyaka, it will appear to be very similar to that of a Brahmana. In fact, both of them actually discuss the yajna practices only. But there is a crucial difference. The Brahmana approaches the yajna from the perspective of rituals to be conducted. It's more bothered about the procedures, procedural details and so on. On the other hand, the Aranyakas take a philosophical approach. It discusses the same yajna, but it takes a philosophical approach. Basically, the Aranyakas' main interest is to explain the symbolism and the philosophical aspects of a ritual. I mean, this is understandable. When Tendulkar or Sunil Gavaskar played cricket, first few years it's all about cricket for them. But as they keep playing cricket, cricket becomes a philosophy for them. So the same way in our life, we may be doing certain things in our life, but as we grow older, everything turns a little philosophical. So Aranyaka addresses that requirement of an individual. It takes the same activities, but gives a slightly different philosophical meaning, because that's what we are looking for at that stage of our life. So that's what it is. So it not only has the prescribed rituals, but also the daily chores such as breathing and eating have all been given a deep meaning, because that's a stage in life we actually want to know all this. So it is usually found at the end of Brahmanas, and because of the philosophical nature of its content, The Aranyakas are supposed to be learned from a guru in a secluded place. Actually, Aranya means forest. Aranyaka means we don't have to go to a forest. What it means is not in the hustle bustle of a city. That's the meaning. And that's why it is called Aranyakas. And expectedly, I think as we grow older, our interests start a little shifting. So we want to look at the same yajna in a philosophical sense, and that's where Aranyakas are coming. There are 6 Aranyakas available now from the first 3 Vedas. Atharva Veda has no Aranyakas and so on. The 4th division is Upanishad. And the word Upanishad actually has Upa, Ni and Shad. They are the 3 things which are, in Sanskrit you can put them in a particular way and get Upanishad. It essentially means sitting near a guru and receiving the wisdom through a teaching learning process. That's what Upanishad is. Upanishad is set like that actually. Philosophical treatises dealing with ultimate problems of life that every one of us confront. The common theme seems to be focused on the knowledge of Brahman or knowledge of oneself. They call it as Atma Vidya. Who am I and where from I have come? I think these issues are also important to us, so the rishis have also thought about these things. It is actually an in-depth study of individuals in terms of their nature and their psychology and all that. Very interesting ideas are there in Upanishads. And originally 1180 Upanishads is supposed to be there. Currently we are able to trace only about 200, of which 108 are known earlier, much more known. Even of those, 10 are called major Upanishads because all great acharyas wrote commentaries for the 10 major Upanishads. So that's how it is. But Upanishads are hugely being studied today. Thanks to great recent gurus like Swami Chinmayananda ji, I think we have been able to bring all these to our consideration today. So this is something which is those 10, 12 Upanishads, some 20 Upanishads people are able to benefit greatly from. So this pictorially represents how the 108 Upanishads are. The Rig Veda has 10 Upanishads out of the 108. The Yajurveda has 51, of which 19 are in Shukla Yajurveda and 32 are in Krishna Yajurveda. The Samaveda has Upanishads also there, and the Atharva Veda also has about 31 Upanishads, all of them adding up to 108. So that's how these Upanishads are classified. Now what we will see is a little bit a summary of all these that we have described in a tabular form. So what you see here is a table in which you have the 4 Vedas are on one side. As I told you, there are 4 Vedas, and the 4 sub-classifications on the other side. That's what we see here. And as I told you, Rig Veda has 10,552 mantras, and it had 21 shakas, but only 5 are available now. The Aranyakas attributed to Rig Veda are Aitareya Aranyaka and Sankhya Tabana Aranyaka and so on. There are Brahmanas, Aitareya and Kaushitaki Brahmanas are there. And you have also major Upanishad, Aitareya Upanishad and Kaushitaki Upanishad. Similarly, you have Yajurveda. Yajurveda, there are 85 shakas in Yajurveda, and only 4 are available now, as you see here. Shukla Yajurveda, only 2 are available now. The Taittiriya Upanishad, Taittiriya Brahmana and Taittiriya Aranyakas, these are all very famous. People, a lot of them, Shukla Yajurveda has Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is also Kathopanishad. These are all very nice Upanishads. If you take Samaveda, you have, as I told you, the mantras we don't know, but some people say 1549, some say 1875 and so on. Out of 1000 shakas, only 3 are available. The Talavakara or Jaimini Aranyaka is the one associated with Samaveda. There are 9 Brahmanas, I already talked about it. Panchavamshata, Tandiya Mahabrahmana, etc. etc. The Chandogya and Kena Upanishads belong to Samaveda. And finally you have Atharva Veda, 6000 mantras, as I told you, heavily borrowed from Rig Veda. 9 shakas, only 2 are available now. There isn't any Aranyaka available today from Atharva Veda. The Gopatha Brahmana is associated with Atharva Veda, and these three Upanishads, Prashna Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad and Mandukya Upanishad, all these are associated with Atharva Veda. So it is a summary quickly that four Vedas on one side and the four subclassifications. In a way it says this is what we can lay our hands today, but even within this, although we have lost quite a bit of them, even within this there are very interesting things, very interesting ideas. Although we may not have time to look at all of them in detail, but definitely we will look at some of them. In our next video we will see some of the messages in the Vedas.